Hello, SaaS Connect. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Before we start, I want to give a huge thank you to the Cloud Software Association for having us here to talk about some of the successes our ISV partners have had on the Salesforce AppExchange. My name is Jamila Traps, and I am a Principal Partner Account Manager working with ISVs who are looking to build on the Salesforce AppExchange. For those of you who are not familiar, our marketplace, AppExchange, is the leading, most trusted cloud marketplace for proven app solutions that our customers love. In fact, 91% of all Salesforce customers use at least one AppExchange solution today, and many of our customers are Fortune 500 companies, so those are really good customers to have. To help us understand just how much the AppExchange helps accelerate SaaS companies, I will be interviewing two of our top ISV partners, Chuck Yang, Senior Product Manager from ScreenMeet, and Tessin Daya, Head of Partnerships at Groove. Both of them, you'll hear talk today about the Salesforce Accelerate program that they both went through. That is our virtual accelerator that helps partners strategically align and build with Salesforce. We have two different versions of this program that you'll hear us talk a little bit about today. And without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from Chuck and Tessin. Thank you guys for joining today. Let's start off with some introductions. Chuck, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and your partnership with Salesforce.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Chuck Yang, and I am Head of Product Management at ScreenMeet. I'm from rainy Portland, Oregon, so it's been nice to be out here for a couple of days enjoying the sunshine. I managed to catch a Giants game earlier this week, so that was kind of nice. The last couple of years, Portland has been pretty shut down. We finally just opened up, so me and my wife finally got outside and enjoyed the first festival last weekend. So awesome. It's been nice. And it's nice to be out here to see everybody without masks. This is my first time here at SaaS Connect, so very excited. Thank you for having me. A little bit about ScreenMeet. We are cloud native remote support and video application. We're challenging legacy desktop apps that you've, such as LogMeIn, TeamViewer, and Bongar. So if you're familiar with those applications, you kind of know what we do. One of the things, as we all know, is in the last couple of years, we've all been working from home, and corporations are having to provide tools to support their remote workers. And what we're finding is that these corporations are moving away from legacy solutions to SaaS native applications that are more performant and scalable like ours. Our path to partnership with Salesforce was pretty funny, actually. Back in 2017, 2018, we had a couple of customers that were interested in us having an AppExchange app. Customers like OpenTable wanted us to be in there, so we started work on those. A couple of weeks before we launched, we were very closely on a deal with Dell, and Dell was asking us why Salesforce had never heard of us and why we weren't a recommended vendor. And so we told them, well, that's because we actually haven't been certified on AppExchange yet. And so when we launched a couple of weeks later, we had two customers ready to go, OpenTable and Dell.
Thank you so much. Tessin, you want to go ahead and do an introduction?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jamila. I really appreciate being here. Nice to just see people in person after 2 years of my life. It's kind of crazy. My name is Tessin. I lead partnerships for a company called Groove. We're a sales engagement platform built for enterprise and powered exclusively on Salesforce and really extends the power of Salesforce to the sellers' inboxes. So sellers, customer success, go-to-market teams. And the reason that we exist and the fact that we've found the success that we have on the AppExchange is because we're just empowering the modern sales process. You've got this entire sort of crossing the chasm shift that's occurred, over the last, 10 years, whatever the case is, where you've had legacy sellers and you've got an entirely new sort of a journey that sellers embark on these days. And Salesforce, is pretty critical in our minds anyway to that journey. And so Groove basically leverages everything that Salesforce has to offer, especially off of the AppExchange, to build and customize for multiple enterprise sales teams. We've got customers like Google, Uber, Airbnb, Cisco, Adobe, the list keeps going on and on. And so it's an exciting time to be in this category. It's a very relevant category in the light that we're in this late pandemic, post-pandemic, whatever you want to call it. And I'm excited to just talk about AppExchange because we've had a positive experience in all, I would say. And we've been on it for a while, since 2015. So I would say Groove is firmly sort of entrenched in leveraging Salesforce and doubling down on a strategy to be the sort of super CRM platform. And with all of the data and insights that it provides and just sort of tying into that and empowering multiple enterprise teams, no matter how complicated their Salesforce instances. So with that, happy to be here and talk about AppExchange.
Yeah, thank you too for the introductions. Let's get right into the conversation. So Chuck, my first question is for you. Let's talk about banking your business strategy on AppExchange and just really partnering with Salesforce.
Our advice there would be don't just bank on it. One of the things that you want to do and keep in mind is that getting yourself into the AppExchange store is the first step of your journey with Salesforce. It is not the end. For us, it hasn't been a build it and they will come experience. We have had to go after all the opportunities that we've had. Now, that being said, AppExchange does provide lead gen and discovery. But for us at ScreenMeet, it has been primarily a security, checkbox and kind of assurance for us. But since we've been in the AppExchange store the last couple of years, we have had over 50 plus joint customers with Salesforce, primarily in tech and financial services. And so it has been great for us in that sense. It hasn't been a smooth journey. Those opportunities that we've had to work very hard to get them. And so something to keep in mind. The other thing is, we're just getting started. If you look at our target market within Salesforce, there are over some 50,000 plus customers out there. And so we're very excited to be pursuing those opportunities.
Awesome. So Chuck, if I'm hearing you right, Salesforce is a good part of your strategy, but it shouldn't be your entire strategy, right?
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So what growth have you actually seen then with AppExchange? And what would you say would have been the main thing that really helped you to be successful?
I can't say this enough. I know you guys hear it all the time, but relationships really is key to your success. Our account manager is our best friend. We meet with our account manager on a weekly basis. Salesforce is a huge organization that changes regularly, and she has been our view into the organization. She helps makes key introductions to AEs and SEs within our verticals. And AEs and SEs are very important to your success. They introduce you to their teams. They help build awareness about your solution and how you could fit into their offerings. And so you want to work with them very closely and build close relationships with your AEs and SEs. You want to work with them in a sense as an extended team. You want to make sure they're successful, helping them to retire quota. You want to be persistent, but not annoying in a way. And then you also, just like a good partner, you want to be able to bring deals to them as well.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Outside of just the brand, one of the big benefits of partnering with Salesforce is the relationships, is the access to the ecosystem. Tessin, you've done an amazing job with leveraging a lot of those relationships and really kind of finding your way through the ecosystem. Can you talk about some of those relationships and how they've accelerated your growth?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think at the outset, it's also the architecture and the nature of the solution itself, right? So you're talking about a sales engagement platform. I think our co-founders, when they first started the company, Groove, they realized that it's beneficial to work within or on something that's part of the CRM as opposed to tools that are outside of it. I think that was a really nice realization, and there was nice market validation around that. The second component is that for us, for Groove, Salesforce is an enabler of innovation because you can just tie in with an organization's data without really having to bake or manufacture or come up with any type of connectors. It's just all part when you basically a managed package that sits on the AppExchange. So that's just the pretext. If I were to think about the go-to-market, right? So when I showed up, which I've been with Groove for about 1.5 years, I think our journey with technical evangelists and getting an app launched in the AppExchange was fine, right? I think when you're talking about a go-to-market, you've got two conduits or two paths that I've seen that we experienced. One was what you talked about, which is your PAM. That's the ISV team. And they are essentially just a conduit. So they're there to understand your solution. You guys have Nicole, we have Amanda, Jamila. And so they just, they understand what you're up to, what you're trying to figure out, being part of this really immense ecosystem, and how can they help you navigate further? And so we've had a nice experience there. I think what I would say, just to understand Salesforce further, was we went through a process last year, which is the Accelerate program. We were part of the Grow program. There's 2 this year, I believe. One is called Build. So if anybody's interested, if you guys have not launched or are thinking about launching, there's something that's going to happen next month, I believe, which is part of this Build program, where you get to launch an app and you have a support system that's kind of laid out. I don't know a lot of the details around that, but I'm sure you'd be able to provide information on that. The program that we went through was called Accelerate Grow, and it was basically an application-based process where we kind of went through I would just call it a Salesforce MBA. It was a 3-month journey, daily sessions, and you really had an entire cohort of, I think we participated with 20 companies, or we were the 20th company, and it was around first understanding what is Salesforce up to? What is their strategy? They're shouting it from the rooftops as a good company does. How can we acquiesce and align within that strategy and what makes sense for us? So we, got to understand Mark Stevens' first day. He talked about industries clouds and the path that Salesforce is going down, which is really verticalizing into financial services, media, manufacturing, healthcare. You've got all these, sort of sub-clouds. Where can we participate? We've got a great roster of technology companies in the enterprise segment. We are also trying to figure out, HLS and have a nice footprint in financial services. So that was a very nice sort of tie-in for us to figure out, okay, let's play in financial services. Let's try to build a go-to-market with Salesforce. And I think post that, we had a lot of tactical pieces, right? So there's a design chart called the blueprint. And that blueprint lets you kind of figure out, well, from a solution perspective, where are you going to fit in? How can you speak to Salesforce stakeholders so they understand exactly their language, speak in their terms, and try to articulate the value prop according to the way that they can fit you in and then evangelize or advocate on your behalf, because it's a mutual win-win scenario. So, I think that was the second component, second realization, and then you had lots of sort of customer stories called sales plays. All in all, I would say that we got access, and like Chuck, you mentioned relationships, we got access to 40 plus leaders across various segments, right, across various teams. So ISP Partner Pipeline Management Team, the AMP team, the Industries Cloud product, Sales Cloud product, Service Cloud product. Our mentor is now the GM, actually, at HubSpot, at their product. So you had a high caliber of person and various teams who were there, connected with you, and trying to figure out how they can assist, even if they didn't have a direct incentive tied to what you were up to. So I thought that was helpful, and I think we went through and had like 57 meetings or something crazy like that during the time, which was just a real accelerator to get us kickstarted. And I would say that it saved us, if you were to go about doing something like this organically and trying to find your way, you're saving through this program 6 to 12 months and just accelerating your journey, understanding what you don't want to participate in and what you do want to participate in. So I think the outcome was network, good connections, a market with industries clouds. And then the second component is co-marketing. So I think very recently there was a piece that came out, which was Capital One, which is a customer of ours, mutual customer, obviously. And they did a piece with Groove as well as a Salesforce consulting company talking about how collectively this sort of triangle helps and drive value as part of the overall ecosystem. So I would say those are really 2 great outcomes that we kind of came up with. But at early days, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And there's a lot to accomplish. That's what I would say.
I really like what both of you said. And it's really good to understand that coming into the AppExchange is the no way the golden ticket, right? And the program works if you do. So that means reaching out internally, finding out who in Salesforce can really help you get your message across, meeting with those account executives, and really doing the work to really make that partnership work for you. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit more about your successes and get a little bit into that part of the discussion. So, Chuck, I know we all know there are several steps to becoming an AppExchange partner, especially from a technology perspective. Can you give us your perspective or any advice you have around our platform and really building on it?
My advice here would be to iterate, iterate, and iterate. And you want to build your app, get it out there as quickly as you can, gather feedback, and iterate. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, once said, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late." Today, our application is very deeply integrated into Salesforce, but we didn't start out that way. Within our application, within our app, you could create a support session from within a case, within a chat, an Einstein chatbot, a Lightning scheduler, and a voice object. But we didn't start with all these capabilities up front. In fact, we only started out with a single object. We built it so that you could create a support session from a case, and then from customer feedback and requests, we built it out from there.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, we had to be very focused. We had a couple of key customers that forced us to address their specific use cases, and we built that out quickly, and then built that out as we iterated in our product.
Yeah.
And so the key thing really is to don't try to build everything up front. Get your app out there, identify your key use cases, build your app quickly, and then get feedback, and then iterate from there.
Yeah, that's really important. We always encourage our partners to just start off with the MVP, come up with a few use cases, and then as you get feedback, build that into your app. So I really like that you brought that up. Tessin, I want to talk a little bit about your listing. I know you've done really well on the AppExchange. Talk about what happens once you're actually live on the AppExchange. I know that you've maintained a perfect 5-star AppExchange listing. Kind of explain to us what that process is like and what that looks like for your customers coming on to your listing and what their experience is.
Yeah, sure, Jamila. I think the first piece is the 5 stars, right? So that's there. I think we've worked quite hard for that. Just like any other, and I'm sure we've all heard this, you're a fast growth company, you're going through your journey with, we were at Series B, we just raised $45 million. So I think what we've done a good job of, and we strayed true to kind of our roots and the culture that we developed as a company, and that sort of permeates across outside as well, is to have our customers be our best advocates. So we've asked people to really go there, voice their opinions, and we've got in volume a really nice presence on the AppExchange, right? That's the first component of what we're talking about. That's table stakes. So you do that, then you start to really develop the momentum from there on. I would say post that, we've leveraged what Salesforce has to offer. So we've leveraged AMP, which is basically pay to play. So if you've got key categories that you're trying to go into, tech and financial services is our sweet spot. We've kind of played to play and gotten some exposure and awareness through those opportunities. The third component that's kind of interesting is all about the buyer journey. So what happens when they get to our listing and what are they trying to accomplish? What we've done is we've actually worked with other native technologies. An example of that is a company called Qualified. They just raised their Series C $95 million on Tuesday, Salesforce Ventures backed, and they power chat. And so what we're doing is we're just curating experience for AppExchange. When you've got a company that's coming in, we know who they are. We've got an experience that we've developed once they're hitting our site to make sure that the friction is getting removed as much as possible, and they're just getting path to purchase as fast as possible. And that's helped out tremendously by leveraging all of the ecosystem opportunities with these native technologies to really deliver a top-line experience that gets to where a buyer is trying to go. And I think the last thing that I would say is we unfortunately didn't get a chance to leverage this, but this is something we found out about in the accelerator as well, which was just additional widgets, I would call them, that you get as part of your AppExchange listing, right? And one of them is called, it used to be Trial Force, but it's called Test Drive. And it's just giving you a personal touch on your demo, as opposed to running a 2-minute clip on a video that somebody kind of looks at and doesn't really understand what you're up to. This just gives you the opportunity to play around with, hit certain buttons, and it's a personalized, curated experience, but it's right there on the AppExchange, and that delivers value and power, and that then will have amplifying effects. So even though we didn't get the leverage, if anybody's thinking about launching an app or optimizing their app, I would highly recommend that you guys take a look at something like a test drive to refine that experience.
Yeah, I love that. At Salesforce, we always say we drink our own Kool-Aid, and I love that Tessin has really learned how to just really leverage all the tools. I love that. So last question before I open it up to the audience, because I'm sure you all have a ton of questions. What's next for you and your partnership? Would love to understand, how do you plan to stay innovative? What's on the roadmap for you? Chuck, you want to start off?
Yeah. So for us, we have Salesforce also as a customer. So 2 of Salesforce's departments are our customer. Their client success group and their IT help desk, TechForce, is a customer. So we essentially work very closely with Salesforce in terms of regular touch points, identifying enhancement requests, and building out the product from there. And then we're a startup, and in our last round of funding, Salesforce Ventures was an investor for us. And so we're in a unique position where Salesforce is not only a partner and a customer, but also an investor. And so we see this as a long-term relationship that we are working to build and grow our integrations within Salesforce. There's lots of opportunities that are out there, and as I mentioned before, and then we want to go after other markets, market needs, and those issues. So we will continue to invest heavily and grow our capabilities within Salesforce.
Thank you. Tessin.
Yeah, we're all in. We're all in on Salesforce. We're exclusive to Salesforce. So I would say we just continue to double down on industries clouds, and that's where we're having and validating our success at the moment. I think from a marketing perspective, I know that Dreamforce is a huge event that's going to happen later on this year, but I think there's opportunities to kind of play along the entire year. I went to an event a couple of weeks ago in Washington, D.C., which was a world tour event. There's lots of these that are happening throughout the year, and that's just opportunity not only to engage with all of the constituents that are part of the ecosystem, but perhaps sponsor based on what level and tier you are at. In addition to that, what Salesforce has done an incredible job of is organic growth and community-based, just a community base. So you've got these events called Dream-In events that are very community-oriented. Maybe there's a Salesforce admin group. We want to participate in that as well, because that is where you're going to have true advocates and champions come and evangelize on behalf of your tech and your solution. And so the more that we can get granular and organic within our approach on distribution opportunities, I think that's the pathway there. And then I think the last thing that I would say is, from a product perspective, it's a super platform. And so there's always going to be the opportunity to complement. And I think we are, being a very nimble sort of high growth startup, and you've heard this before, I think we're looking to figure out where can we amplify and accelerate from a product development standpoint to fill pain points or just to accelerate opportunities within the customer base, because every Salesforce customer is a Groove customer and vice versa. So there are going to be opportunities along the way. I think it's still early days, and we're just really excited to participate in the ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now we're going to go ahead and open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions for me or for Tessin, for Chuck, happy to answer them now. I see a hand over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great question, right? I think it depends on the solution, honestly. So if you've got a solution that is greenfield, sky's the limit, and there's going to be all kinds of opportunities. If you've got a solution that there's nuances and perhaps it'll even overlap, right? I think what we found success with is going with the industry's clouds teams and via the solution engineering route, because those guys are advocates and they're quite neutral. And if they feel there's a solution that's going to deliver a better customer experience collectively, that's a win. So that neutral perspective is important. And I think we've led with that approach. And that's really what I would say has yielded the most returns at the moment. But honestly, yeah, it'll be, I hate to say this, it'll depend on who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, what your goals are. If your goal is to accelerate revenue, you've got to make sure that you fit appropriately and you'll get that feedback, right? So it might not just be all roses, but there is the ability to also have people advocate for you as awareness rises to de-risk revenue. So there's opportunities to do all kinds of things depending on what your goals are, who you are, and that's the best way that I think I would address that.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Hi, it's going to be Dr. Rami. Thanks. Tessin, you mentioned that you went all in with Salesforce, and Chuck, I think I understood that you haven't. You've a little bit more agnostic. Tessin, can you tell us a little bit about why you went all with Salesforce, and Chuck, why you're not?
You want to go first? You want me?
We're the way our platform was built is cloud native. So we have capabilities. One of our key selling point or key features of being cloud native is that we have that capability to easily integrate to different platforms. And so we have had key customers out there asking for other platforms too, and some that use directly our platform come directly to us. And so that was why we didn't go all in. It was really just more of what the market was looking for and being flexible in that sense.
Yeah, and for us, we're a managed package, so we basically just developed and built on top of Salesforce. And I think that's just a choice that Chris, my CEO, made, and Austin, my CTO. And it's not a bad bet, right? Because you're talking about a company that's at $25 billion top line revenue. They've got plans to go to $50 billion in 4 years. It's a super platform, and I'd say it's the #1 CRM on the planet at the moment. And so if you're going to participate meaningfully, there's an opportunity to play on all sides. So Salesforce is one component, but then you've got consulting companies, system integrators who are the services arm, and they're looking to deploy these solutions. And so there's several pathways for you to have channel opportunities occur, but be as part of the Salesforce ecosystem. That's what kind of Groove is up to. So, I mean, I'm not going to say 5 years from now, when we're $100 million, there's opportunities that might arise to go to Dynamics or whatever the case may be. But I think it's a pretty clear path that we're very well embedded on Salesforce.
And Chuck, would you say the work that you did do with Salesforce, you went all in with that? I just think you're saying I didn't bet my entire business on Salesforce. So I just wanted to make sure we kind of pulled that out. Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. And so and that's a good strategy. That's what we recommend, because to Chuck's point, you're going to want to integrate into several different clouds, right? Several different platforms. And so we wouldn't want you to say Salesforce is it's all. We want to just be a part of your strategy, right? So I think both strategies are good strategies, and you've been really successful. You've done the work with Salesforce. So I would say you did go all in the areas that you did partner with Salesforce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. About the Salesforce Accelerate Build program. So we're connected. I'll go ahead and send you all of the Accelerate information. But just so all of you know, when you think about an accelerator, that's exactly what this is, but it's specifically for our Salesforce partners. So we really show you how to really get the most out of your relationship with Salesforce. There's partners who come into the AppExchange who just sit there. They get no traction because they don't know who to talk to. They're not really a part of the overall point of view for that industry or that vertical. So it really just kind of immerses you into that. I like how Tessin said it's the Salesforce MBA. So that's really what it's about. From a technology perspective, you'll get kind of access, I guess, to our engineers. You'll learn where you should fit. You'll kind of be consulted on your integration strategy. So those are the things that we focus on just to make sure you're really successful with the build and the development and then the relationship with Salesforce. And I'll make sure I give you all that information. Yeah. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Awesome. Well, you guys gave us a ton of amazing information today. This was so inspiring to really see two partners who have really just gone all in on the platform, and it's worked for you guys. If anyone has any other questions, I'll be around today until 4. Happy to talk with you all more about becoming a partner. You can find more information on salesforcebusinessbuilders.com as well. And yeah, thank you guys for coming, and we're looking forward to talk to you more.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.